After finally playing Final Fantasy VII, I had a changed perspective when it came to classic video games. Instead of remaining distant cornerstones of gaming culture, sinking into obscurity through time and the lure of new experiences, why not experience them firsthand and see what all the fuss is about? Inspired, I spent some time thinking about other games I'd missed and decided to make myself a list. A long list. Looking back, there was one standout though. A game that stood out as important, often revered as the greatest game of all time. The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. I know, how could I have possibly dismissed this game and left it unplayed? Dunno. The quintessential 3D adventure game, encapsulating a foundation of core elements that have influenced countless games in the genre, more or less influenced gaming in general, many of which I loved. Alright, you've convinced me. Now that I had my next game, how was I going to play it? There was the 3DS remake, which I'd purchased 2 years ago and promptly added to my ever-growing backlog. I felt a little strange about playing the remake. I wanted my first experience to be authentic, to be as close to the original as possible. So that was out. I didn't have a Nintendo 64, so that was off the cards. The last option was the Wii U Virtual Console. This resonated with me, as it was as close to the original as I could muster. It was affordable, and I could capture it. So I entered the eShop and proceeded to purchase Ocarina of Time. For the second time. I think this is as good a time as any to mention previous Zelda experiences, or should I say, experience. See, I have only played and completed one other Zelda title, Breath of the Wild. I spent countless hours exploring and reveling in the world, unmatched player freedom, and how profoundly respected I felt playing inspired me to keep on playing. It was extremely refreshing. It was everything an open world should be. I remember when the game first came out, there was some strong discourse about the omission of dungeons. Initially, I gave it no mind, as I had no bearing on what a Zelda dungeon was. Little did I know, this was the backbone of what a Zelda title was, and I'd soon see their relevance and importance. 67 hours later, over the course of a few weeks, and I can now say that I have completed Ocarina of Time. Well, what did I think? Yeah, it's pretty bloody good actually. I want to say one thing about hardware and some frustrations gained by my choice in platform, being the Wii U. The controls do not translate over to the gamepad or Pro Controller very well. See, the C buttons are mapped by default to the right joystick, which is fine in theory, but I found extreme frustration when the slightest angle would register a misclick. Often I'd be aiming down an enemy with my bow or hookshot, only to ask Navi's opinion. I am starting to digress, but it could also be the stick layout on the Wii U's peripherals. See, the right stick is located at the top right of the controller. I found my thumb slightly tilted when over the stick, and this could assist in the aforementioned problem. A nitpick to be sure, but the Wii's controllers do feel a tad strange in their hands, especially compared to other controllers I have. Would have I felt the same on the original hardware? Unsure, but I wanted to mention that. On a positive note, future playthroughs will be handled on the 3DS. With the addition of gyro aiming, it's an enticing thought. Context is important. I think when you're discussing such an iconic masterpiece, you cannot simply state it's good or it's bad, but what makes it so? What experience shaped your enjoyment? I thoroughly enjoyed Ocarina of Time and regret sleeping on it for so long. The game never becomes overwhelming. Smaller quests are completed initially, with grander feats broached once the world is fully realised. I think this is one of the main reasons the game is considered a classic. It is so accessible, with an air of curiosity pulling me forward, consistently unlocking new tools to progress. I just had fun. I wanted the game to keep going. I didn't want it to end. Yes, it had some shortcomings. I fought with the controls in Dark Link, while the atmosphere of the encounter was epic. It was overshadowed by the annoying fight that followed. Ocarina of Time had some amazing moments that will stick with me for a long time. I actually enjoyed the water temple, and the idea of the spirit temple needing both old and young Link really captivated me. I now understand the importance of dungeons in the Zelda franchise and look forward to playing more titles to experience them firsthand. Ganon's Castle, breaking down the 6 barriers through the use of tools gained throughout the journey. What a great way to show they are all necessary to get there. Defeating Ganon was a fitting crescendo and was fun to play out. I loved the dark tone of the final battle. Using the Master Sword for finishing blow really solidified the importance of the blade. I'd say that most of the iconic sequences and tools encapsulated in the Zelda franchise are portrayed perfectly in Ocarina of Time. Ganondorf, a formidable opponent, the Hylian shield, the symbol of protection, the Master Sword, a vessel for defeating evil, the Triforce, an embodiment of the 3 main characters and their traits. Telling a compelling story is one thing, but living through it is another. Stepping out of the Temple of Time after acquiring the Master Sword will stay with me forever. The impact decisions have on the world and the compulsion to rectify them hits so much harder when actively partaking. Seeing the end screen, knowing that our desires have come to fruition, it's little wonder why Ocarina of Time is slated as one of the best games of all time. Because it is. Ocarina of Time is a classic, and I loved it. Thank you for watching this video.